All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another live training on AI. I mean, we can't not talk about what's happening with AI in terms of how it's impacting our businesses, how we can leverage it. I mean, it is a incredibly exciting time to be in business, in my opinion, because there's so many, although overwhelming, confusing, we're all kind of running with a hair on fire. It's just so much excitement around what's happening that we're all looking for ways to simplify, streamline, and improve the efficiencies of our businesses. So today's call, we're doing something special today because when I first brought this company on to talk about AI and ranking in AI and helping my community of real estate agents get more exposure through these large language models, this was a really small company working with a handful of people. And since then, which feels like it's been only a few months, but almost a year now, this has become one of the fastest growing companies in the real estate space. They have been able to work with now hundreds of agents, helping them rank in AI. And so I'm mad I didn't invest. I'm mad I didn't get shares in the business, but I am very happy to welcome my friend, my partner, someone who I worked closely with for over 10 years, Tim Harvey, to the call. Tim, if you want to kick things off and give a lay of the land, and I'll be jumping in here, man in the chat. I think it's really important here, Tim, to set the stage for everybody, just to
Yeah.
give everyone kind of a sense of, hey, here's what we're going to be covering today, and then let's get into. I asked Tim to do me a favor, guys. I said, Tim, I want you to give away your entire playbook because obviously they're a company that provides a service. But I said, we have people who want to do this themselves, so tell them what you've learned being on the forefront
hmm
of this, so they can apply it to their business, even if they don't end up hiring you guys.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. First of all, thank you for all the kind words you just mentioned, Jimmy. It was actually exactly a year ago. I went back and looked. I thought it was July that we did that webinar. At the time, we had a year ago, last April, we were at the forefront of AI visibility. It wasn't even a discipline until about January of last year. Like, when I say AI visibility, I mean treating AI as a marketing channel, having your business be recommended by AI to get those come-list me phone calls. At the time, we were working with about a dozen agents or so. And everybody was trying to figure it out. And fast forward now, 12 months later, we're working with more than 100 agents and teams across the US and as well as Canada. So we have learned so much. Now, the models will continue to evolve, so we have to react to
Mhm.
that. But what
Sure.
Jimmy asked me to do was to come here and say, give away the playbook, share exactly what I want to do, what I need to do as an agent if I want to be in the answers, whether you hire FlyDragon or not. So, Jimmy put my feet to the fire. I'm going to give you just that over the next 40 minutes or so. Let me
Yeah.
just say, because I'm sure people will ask Jimmy, this is being recorded
Yeah.
and we'll give away the slide deck after the fact. I say that just to make
Yeah.
sure it is recording. Yeah, it is. Okay.
Yes, there you go. All right. And on that note, like, do us a favor right now in the chat. I'm really curious. When you think about, I want to see where everyone lands on this because I have my opinion, Sim.
Yeah.
But do you think, do you think that ranking in AI will be more important than ranking on Google search in 12 months? Let me know in the chat right now. Do you think ranking in AI will be more important than ranking in Google search? Because Tim, I would make the argument.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if and by the way, I'm not sure if our chat is enabled. If you want to actually, let me just see, I'll make sure it actually is enabled for
Let's
everybody
take a
here.
look here.
Yeah, you got to click on that little three dot icon. People are like ferociously typing and they're not seeing their answers there. So they've now moved over to the questions. Thank you.
Oh, I see.
Thank
Okay.
you, Sliv. Yeah. So if you click on the three icons in the chat, you as a presenter can do it. Or if you want to make me a host, I can do it. So prepare your answers because Tim, I would make the argument that when I look at my own behavior as a consumer, I spend what felt like 90% of my time Googling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it was a year ago,
Yeah.
to like 97% of my time using AI
Yeah.
for almost everything. Like, thank you, Sliv. Look at this, Sliv in the chat.
Yeah.
So like, I mean,
It's a
like,
good thing I'm better at AI visibility than I am running a Zoom webinar.
yes, yes. So you get, but look at just in the response, like, and the good news is like ranking in AI also means helping with SEO. But there's the reason I wanted you to come on, Tim, because I believe there is going to be a massive land grab right now,
hmm
and I think the window has just opened. So, by the way, you're not behind. Don't worry, you're not behind. But the window has opened where if you knew like how big search was going to be in
Yeah.
2000, you would have gone all in on this.
Yeah.
Well, what we're all seeing, just looking at our own behavior, we're all seeing that like this sort of AI evolution, if nothing else, is a way for consumers to discover brands, and that's where we want our agents to be. All right, cool. So Tim, take the lead here, my man.
Yeah, just to build on that, because it is actually woven through here. I'll just get into it now, but yeah, it's going to be massive. In fact, you said that a year ago in April, a massive AI land grab, which I've since used for myself. I've stolen that from you. It's here. It's been a differentiator for the agents who have figured this out or use FlyDragon to figure this out on their behalf. But we're going to get to a place where it's table stakes. And it's going to be the agents who have figured this out, and then every other agent, and the gap between these two it's already widening and will continue to widen. So my hope here today is to, and I'm sharing these are just wins over the last month or two from some of our clients, but I want this to be your story. That's my goal here over the next 45 or so minutes is how can I help you say that you generated 30K in GCI in 3 weeks or 60K in GCI over 3 months, or had one phone call that resulted in 4 listings and a buyer like April Burley did down in Texas. So that's the goal here for today. So I'm going to give you everything that we've learned over the last 15 months. Again, this is a brand new discipline, and we are still early to it, yes. But think of, I'll draw parallels to Google PPC. The agents who were quick to adopt paid search, they killed it. Now it's completely convoluted now. It's had its time in the limelight, I like to say. How about the Google Map Pack? Organically getting your business in the top 3. The agents who figured that out early killed it. So if you miss those opportunities and you're kicking yourself in the butt, this is the opportunity. I think it's going to be bigger than both of those combined. So don't miss it. A little bit about what we learned before we get into exactly what you need to do. Again, just taking all the data from the 100 or so clients that we work with today over the last 15 months. These are averages. About 60 days time for these agents to get their first AI citation. I'll talk more about what I mean by that, but essentially it's a consumer is asking AI, ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, a question, and it takes a couple of months for that first citation. The answer is citing sources. It's not making the answer up. It's finding this answer. It's snippeting, text from blogs, pages, even video, and it's citing the source of that information. So it takes about 60 days. It does not happen overnight. But then when that does happen, it's once you're in the answers, right? Our agents are in the answers. It's roughly 30 days before that phone call or that first phone call happens. The phone rings, right? So it happens pretty quickly once we do some certain steps, which I'll give away today. In terms of the models that matter, now we're looking at everything. Google's AI mode, ChatGPT, Grok, Gemini, Copilot for anybody who uses. Anybody use Copilot out there? Apparently 30 million people do every month. Every model we care about, but looking at the client base that we have today, the 3 dominant players, ChatGPT, Gemini, and Grok. Now why chat? And I'll say this because I get the question a lot. What the quality, we don't use chat as much as we use Gemini and Claude internally on behalf of our clients, but they have the best brand recognition. So it has the most mass adoption, 1 billion users every single month. That's why so many of our clients are saying they were found via ChatGPT. Gemini's catching up. I think it's around 750 million per month, and Grok about 65 billion. So mass adoption globally, and that we'll continue to see that number increase. The last number on the screen here, 8 to 12 citations before the first deal. So it just means that before that phone rings, our clients, we look into our own original data, we're noticing that they have at least 8 to 12 citations. They've been cited by these models for helping to author different answers. Now, this is one I care more about than the other numbers is what is the ROI? Essentially, if I were to go do these things that you're telling me to do here today, Tim, or if you're watching the recording, what can I expect to happen? I will tell you up front, do not expect to need to hire an ISA. You will not have a flurry of phone calls, but the close rate is incredibly compelling. Compare that to paid ads, 1 to 2%. I don't even think it's that high. That's. I wanted to put 0.5. I went with 1% just to be as conservative as possible.
Well,
No,
one
Jimmy,
thing to add there, Tim.
yeah, please.
One thing to add there, because like this is an important thing to mention. How many of us on today's call, and you could just put a W in the chat. How many of us would rather have higher quality leads than more leads? Would you rather have higher quality leads or more leads? If you want higher quality, put a W. Now here's like you just look at that like me, www, right? Like across the board. Here's the reason why I think it's important to call this out because there's a tectonic shift happening in real estate that it feels like no one's talking about it, so I'm going to talk about it. I come from the Google ads, Facebook ads business. That's I started my career in that space, and there was a period we call it the golden age where you could get low cost leads. There wasn't that many people calling them or doing it, and you can generate a great ROI. Think of Dan Chen as a good example of this. Dan Chen built his
Hmm.
entire business on the back of Facebook ads. But what has changed is that because it is so insanely competitive and then mirror that with consumer behavior shifting, meaning calls being screened and emails going to spam and harder to reach people through what you would consider to be cold prospecting. Uh, the ROI is still there for teams that are built for this, but most agents and teams aren't. And most agents and teams don't have a big dashboard when they go to their office that tracks their like contact rate, the number of temp rate, right? Their conversion rate. They don't have like this 2 hours per day they can cold prospect. That's kind of not what their business is being built on. So I have been very much obsessed with figuring out other ways where you can create inbound conversations versus having to go out there and solicit people through traditional outbound methods. Not because I don't think outbound doesn't work. It's just becoming harder and more expensive. So the fact that you can just see Tim, I mean, the
Hmm.
responses are, I think everybody on today's call is like I'll just take two good leads a month. I'm good with that.
Hmm. Yeah. You've taken a contrarian stance. I've seen what you put on social. I think it was in the last few months, talking about how agents obsess over top line, but ignore running a profitable business. Right. And I think this speaks to that. So, yeah, don't expect a flurry of phone calls. The volume will increase undoubtedly as more people adopt AI. But if you have an
Sure.
80% close rate, even on average, one call per month at an 80% close rate, are you happy with adding 100 GCI,
Hmm.
per year? I would assume that
Hmm.
most people would say yes to that. All right, so this is some original research that Thousand Watch just put out. And I'm only sharing this slide because I'm guessing everybody's here. What do we have on here? Last I looked, it was almost 1,000 on here live. I'm guessing you're all here because you already believe in this opportunity. If you're not entirely sold, let me share some research that Thousand Watt has shared just in January. So they surveyed 1,500 buyers and sellers in the month of December, and they found that half of them said they used AI somewhere in their process, the real estate transaction process. But of that number, 2/3 of them used AI specifically to find and evaluate their agent, which is a staggering number. And just 22% said AI had zero impact on selecting the agent, which means about 80% today are using AI to find and qualify their agent. Now, do we think that number is going to increase or decrease over the next 6 months? Increase, right? I'll save the time. All right, so here we go. Let's get into it. Thousands of hours, thousands of hours. We're just going to distill it down. It's the top 9 things that you need to do. It's ordered in terms of precedence. So number one's the most important. So you're ranked high. You're ranked in high authority lists. So I'll pull up Zillow. What's a high authority list? If I go to Zillow and I click on find an agent and I type in San Diego, these are the agent names I'm seeing. Mark Pattison being first, Whistle Beer Group being number two. The reason why I'm showing this is, does Zillow matter? Absolutely matters, right? It is one of the top citations in AI. But if you were to go ask chat, I did this early just to confirm, you guys can all fact check me, but I can almost guarantee, at least for me, I can guarantee that I didn't see Mark's name in the answers. Whistle Beer Group, they were in there, but they weren't in the top five. You definitely want to be in you want to be position one, ideally top three, because that's usually the consideration set of buyer or seller is going to, if they're going to interview agents, they're going to be looking at the top three recommendations. So I'm showing this to say Zillow's not the single source of truth, despite despite unpopular belief. So you have to be featured everywhere buyers and sellers exist. So this is saying ChatGPT, what are the top domains? Right? What are the top websites being cited today? Zillow's actually number 3. Above that being Redfin and Realtor.com. Homes is there as well. Reddit is there. So I'm just trying to dispel, just because if you're an agent and let's say you have 50 reviews on Zillow, but you're competing with agents who have 1,000 reviews, Can you be recommended ahead of those agents? Yes, because Zillow is just one citation, it's just one source that AI is looking at. And they're all looking at it differently, right? They're weighting these differently. I'll give you an example here, ChatGPT. These are the citations, the top citations today. Zillow, Fast Expert, which we'll talk more about. Real Trends, Home Light. There's List with Clever, which is a listicle. Then you look at Google's AI mode, and you're seeing top-rated real estate agents. That's actually a listicle. We'll talk more about those. There's Fast Expert. There's Real Trends again. So is there overlap? Yes. But the models weight these citations differently. So this is the call to action. These are the research we've done, all the work we've done. This is just on March 30th, so a week ago, 22,000 different pages being cited by AI, Homes, Reddit, Redfin. So the call to action here is make sure you're on these. Fast Expert, Rate My Agent, Realtor.com. You probably already have these profiles claimed. If you don't, the two you probably don't have, Rate My Agent, Fast Expert. And I'm going to talk more about those. So you've got to be there, number one. You've got to be everywhere. Gone are the days of
Tim. Real quick, could you go back?
Yeah.
Can you go back to the previous slide real quick?
Mm-hmm.
So just so we're all clear on this, what you're saying is these are the websites that are being sourced the most frequently by AI. These are sort of the third-party sites being sourced most frequently by AI.
Exactly.
And the for action here, like the very basic thing to do, is to take a screenshot of this and just make sure before we get into the details here of like number 2 through 9, make sure your profiles are created, your contact information is accurate, your website, like the old traditional, helping with Google My Business. Just make sure all your profiles are properly set up for this. And I'll give you a quick pro tip on this. If you haven't done this, like this is a great opportunity to use like a Claude Cowork or like a tool like Victor to like basically say, hey, just audit my stuff for me. Like, just, hey, like audit all my stuff for me. Just like identify where there's issues. And that way you can kind of give it to your assistant, or you can do it when you have some free time to actually go through and like clean this up. But I'm a huge fan of this idea of like, just get your profiles dialed in. So is there anything else on this page here that's worth covering beyond just like make sure your profiles are set up?
Yeah, just to mention our process, this is so important. This is what we do on day number 1. So an agent signs an agreement with us. The very first thing we're doing is we're going to go look at these 24 directories, give or take, about 24 of them that matter. And can you use AI? You absolutely can. Take a little bit of the pain off your plate, but we're doing it manually because sometimes AI is missing some of these directories or just inconsistent. So we'll go one by one: Zillow, Yelp, right? Google Business Profile, Fast Expert, Rate My Agent, Homes.com, Realtor.com, Experience.com. We're looking Better Business Bureau. Right. We're looking at all of these, and what you were alluding to is NAP, NAP, like name, address, phone number. Yes, you need to have the profile claimed, but it's also damaging, or at least let's say not helpful, if the information's inconsistent. If you changed addresses in the past and forgot to go to homes.com to update it, or phone number, or even brokerage, change your URL. If that information is consistent across these directories, you look like multiple businesses, which means it's harder for AI to verify who you are, where you are, what you do. So you just get skipped over in lieu of the next agent who's easier to verify.
Cool. All right, let's keep it rolling.
All right. Moving into number 2 of 9 is your content gets cited as a trusted source, your website content in particular. Now, I wish it would work like this, right? The buyer or seller is asking, who's the best realtor in my market to sell my home above asking price? And then the homeowner sees your information and calls you. Can that happen? Yeah. Does it happen? Sure. But that's not normally what's happening. There's a lot more that goes into the buyer and seller journeys. So what's really happening, let's say I'm a buyer and I'm leaving the Boston area, I'm going to move down to Maryland. I'm asking these questions. What's it like living in Baltimore? I'm thinking about moving in the next 3 months. There are follow-on queries happening. Well, is it safe? What are the best neighborhoods I could live in? Is this walkable? I'm starting to narrow down my search. And then, what about the average home prices? My budget's this. I'm looking for this. So again, you need to be cited more than once, at least 8 to 12 times before a prospect recognizes your brand. Now, what's interesting is that AI has a memory, right? It remembers what you're doing. And sometimes it lies to us. I'll say that. We have burner accounts for this reason. But if you're saying, hey, Tim, I'm already being recommended by AI, maybe I'm seeing the same results, but it happens often where I'm not seeing the same results. It has your entire chat history. ChatGPT wants to tell you what you want to hear. And so, but one way we can help ChatGPT recommend you to buyers and sellers who are searching is to get your content cited. The more frequently you get cited, number one, the consumer recognizes the brand recognition, but it can actually influence the answers, influence what agents are being recommended. So the second image is really just a doctored up image of Brian, could be number one if he was focusing on getting his content cited and snippeted by AI. Now, I don't know. I've got an ultra wide screen here, Jimmy. So hopefully you all can see this. If you can't, the deck's going to be coming out to you anyway. But these are the top 20 pages that we see AI being cited the most. The call to
One
action here is
question.
go create these
What
pages. Yeah.
One question. We have a question on fair housing, which is a good question. We'll dive into in a second.
Yeah.
When you say citation,
Mhm.
just so I'm clear on this, because number one is get your profiles dialed in. Number two is increase your citation for the content that basically people are searching on AI.
Yeah.
Uh, what just so I understand the concept of
Mhm.
citation, is that like you're trying to get like who is citating the actual content? So if you're publishing the content, who's actually citating it?
Yeah. Meaning if I were to go to chat right now and say, ask number two there, what is the housing market like? And is it Stratham, Jimmy? You're in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stratham. You'll get an answer. The answer is not an original answer from ChatGPT. It went out and found that answer. There are probably dozens of subqueries happening behind the scenes, and then it's going to
Mhm.
give you this answer. And it is, and you're going to see content being snippeted from sources that ChatGPT in this example trust. You'll probably see government websites being cited. You'll see agent websites, assuming it's original content, it's helpful, it's not too thin. So that's the citation. So if you type something in the chat, you see the answer, take a look at the little bubble and you go to the
Yeah.
scroll to the bottom, you can click on sources. You can see the entire list of sources, both the ones it chose to pull from and some that were in the consideration set that didn't necessarily make the cut. That's the
So,
citation.
so how would an agent, just so I'm clear on this, how would an agent get their content to be cited by these trusted sources? I think that's probably the point where people want to try to get a little bit more clarity on. And
Mhm.
also, just real quick, um, fair housing, you can't talk about safety, right? As part of. I know you guys deal with this a lot around fair
Oh
housing. It's
yeah.
been a big thing.
Common question.
So we'll come to that one towards the end of it. But obviously, you want to make sure the content is you're producing. But just are you publishing it on your website and you're trying to hit these sites up to say, hey, like, here's an article about this, or is there something else that's happening behind the scenes?
We'll get into the content structure. It's one of the top nine, but these
Okay.
would be the topics you write on. Fair housing, we take that into consideration, right? Our prompts that we've engineered have a ton of fair housing, qualifications baked into the prompts to avoid certain verbiage that would be construed, even yellow flags that might be opening the door to violation. But
Got it.
regardless of that, these are the top pages being cited, fair housing aside. So we'll talk about the
Yeah.
structure more, but this would be content that you would create on your website. So if you're
Got
answering
it.
the question, these are the questions being asked. If you're answering that question, these don't also have to be, Jimmy, individual pages. Some of these could be lumped together. And this speaks to a future point on the structure. If you're answering, related topics in the same blog, your blog could be cited 5 different times in that same answer.
Yep. Got it. And real quick, there's no reason to put your email in the chat. I'm not sure why everyone's put their email in the chat. I just see it popping up like 1,000 times. So just no reason. I'm not sure why people are like, we're
I
gonna
want
get to
to
the
spam
recording.
them.
We're gonna get to the slides. Adding your email to the chat does not get you citation in AI. Let's put that for the record, okay? All right. So
It's
so
not a
Tim,
hack.
this reminds me of like the old is new, which
Hmm.
is which is blogging. Blogging is something that people have like it was hot and then it very much was not. And what we're
Hmm.
seeing right now is that like becoming a content creation machine on um on like on your website is creating more, call it, ammunition for LLMs to pull from is the
Hmm.
point.
Yeah.
So I'm tracking that. All right, let's keep building.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to talk more about content. Okay.
Yep.
Number 3. So you're featured in local and national press. This is my all-time favorite. This is what I consider to be the fun stuff. So I think a
Hmm.
lot of us, a lot of real estate agents, a lot of businesses in general, when they think of AI, SEO, or search engine optimization, we stop short of the content, what's going on page. And there's a whole other leg to the stool, which is the off-page authority building. So think of press releases as that, third-party mentions. Having this on your website is not enough, which is considered a first-party mention. You control your website, so you can go out, and we do this for our agents as well. It's standard practice. You should do this. Who's the best realtor
Hmm.
in your market, right? Gatlinburg, Tennessee. It's a very subjective
Hmm.
question. Well, what? How do you measure what the best is? Well, you do that through the body of this page. So the proof points you can see for Caitlin down here. What experience does she have? 30 plus sales in the last year,
Hmm.
7.5 million closed volume year to date, 125 star reviews, et cetera, et cetera. That's a first party mention. And this is, by the way, a standard page that we see cited all the time. It's not the only reason our agents are in the answers, but you need to have the proof points out there. Make it easy for AI or even organic search to find this answer. The
Hmm.
middle column here you're looking at would be the press releases. So very similar page title. Who's the best condo realtor? Who's the best X and Y? Again, the body of this being the proof points.
Hmm.
And we're linking back to Caitlin's website. We're earning the backlink, acquiring the
Hmm.
backlink, right? In the third party mention. If there was no link, we're still getting a brand mention. Caitlin is a realtor in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Now, the third is I just did this to brag a little bit, Jimmy. It's not something that's easy for an agent to do, but we've built our own media distribution. In fact, if you go to goflydragon.com in the header, I think it's called markets. We're building something. We haven't fully rolled it out yet, but we're already seeing our content being cited. So I didn't have us
Hmm.
in the top 20, and we're not Zillow or Fast Expert yet with our own media distribution. But I was searching the other day using Gemini for some age, I forget who it was, and I looked at the citations, and there was FlyDragon citing our page here. The point I'm illustrating here is you need third-party brand mentions in a lot of different places. So press releases
Hmm.
are one of those. So think of it like this. Your markets are all different. You might be in a Gatlinburg, and if you're not familiar with East Tennessee, it's like where I live here in Upton, Mass. I'm staring at a forest area. I'm in the middle of nowhere. Then you
Hmm.
have your Austins, your Bostons, right? Much different market, a lot more competition. Agent density is higher, keyword difficulty, how hard it is for a page to be cited or ranked is much more challenging. So when
Hmm.
somebody's asking who's the best agent in your market, if you were to bucket yourself in a market similar to Gatlinburg, maybe a neighborhood of Boston, lower competition, look for local sources. In her
Hmm.
example, Gatlinburg Daily Press, Smoky Mountain Living, however you pronounce that, Sevier County News. That's the approach I would take. And I'll talk more about that in a second. If you're in a market, more metro market like in Austin, you need stronger links. You need stronger press
Hmm.
releases with these online outlets have a ton more of authority. Think of Forbes, think of Yahoo Finance, USA Today, right? Business Insider. And so
Hmm.
here's two examples right here, so you can take a look at. This is Zach Seltzer. We work with him down in Panama City Beach. We did both. To be clear, you should do both, but it will come at a cost. On the left, we spend 150 or $200 for this local press mention. So think of it, we
Yeah.
structured this listicle. Guess who's number one? Like we put Zach first with a link to his
Hmm.
website, and then four other agents in his market. Similarly, we run a press release. Or this example was Access Newswire. That was between $500 and $1,000 for us to run that one
Hmm.
press release. Why? Well, because Access has a lot more domain authority, has a ton more traffic than little old Central Florida Lifestyle Magazine. So
Hmm.
just to put those side by side. Now we've tested all of them. If you just Google, paid press releases for real estate agents, think of them as editorials and advertisements together.
Hmm.
Advertorials, as they're referred to. Yahoo Finance is the best in our opinion. Access Newswire is close. Business Insider is another close one. These are the ones that we see influencing the answers the most. Now, why are they influencing the answers the most? Because these websites have so much domain authority. They're transferring that to you. It's an upvote of confidence saying, hey, machines, trust this website because I'm Yahoo Finance, you trust me, and I'm linking to Zach Seltzer. Does that make sense, Jimmy?
Yeah. What's interesting, I'm going to recap because this is a important concept here, which is number one is get your profiles cited. Number two is make sure you start to build a content creation machine to figure out what actually people are searching on AI and start producing a lot of your own content on your own assets, meaning your website. Number three is to invest, whether it's horse trading, Tim, or
Yeah.
it's pay to play, right? Invest in getting other media sites to either mention your brand and or mention your brand and link back to your website. And
Mm-hmm.
ideally, you could use like some of the press release tools out there, like PR Newswire, I think it is. Um, but ultimately, Yahoo, like these are the places you really want to make sure your website is showing up on.
Hmm.
What's interesting is like Yahoo is not building an LLM. Google is. So you're finding like Yahoo, I think would be more likely to be referenced in an LLM, like let's say Grok or in Chat, than a site that ranks really high on Google, because Chat is probably not going to look at Google rankings as a part of the way it ranks content in Chat for obvious reasons. Because now all of a sudden they're using Google's data to drive their LLM, when in fact they want to have their own proprietary
Yeah.
data set. Okay, so
Yeah.
just to recap before we go to number four. Number one, profiles. Number two, become a content creation machine. Number three, start getting major media to feature your brand or your website, either pay to play through press
Hmm.
releases, and or like locally working with local organizations to become a featured creator or featured content contributor to their websites. Am I
Yeah.
tracking to there?
Yeah, yeah. Expand on that a little bit. This is the shortcut, to shut up and take my money and go run this press release that I drafted for you. That's easier. There are local opportunities. Sometimes it's a voting system, right? You've all seen that. Okay, this magazine, my market, voting on best restaurant, best real estate agent. That works the same way. A little bit more friction there, right? Or there might be a list of top agents. You can't pay. They don't want you to pay. You can't influence the answers, but you can still reach out to them. The batting average is a lot lower there. We try that on behalf of clients all the time. We won't give up, but it's a lot harder to get somebody to add you to their list unless there's some sort of incentive for them to do so. And we're going to talk actually more about what you just alluded to, Jimmy, about finding the quality of the third party mention versus quantity. But before we do that, coming in at number four is Reddit, Facebook, and YouTube. Now, YouTube, we all know. We all know we should be creating video whether we do it or not. But I don't know if you all realize that YouTube now is the number one source. It has been for about 3 months. Reddit was actually the number one source in ChatGPT answers up until I think it was October, November time frame. Think of this multimodal approach. If you were to do a Google search today, I can almost guarantee this is what the structure of page one will look like. You'll have an AI overview. You'll have your paid results, your PPC campaigns. You'll have the Google Map Pack. You're going to have organic results, but then you're going to see discussions and forums. These are public Facebook groups, not private, public, and Reddit threads, core threads. This is a tremendous opportunity that I don't think many agents are taking advantage of. Could be an X factor here. So to dissect this a little bit further, again, I mentioned that these models are all behaving differently. And what this is saying is if you look at AI overviews, 48% of the citations, YouTube, 13%, almost 14%, Facebook. Compare that to
Hmm.
ChatGPT, a lot less citations for YouTube and Facebook, but Reddit's off the charts. Even though it's not the
Yeah.
number one source anymore, it's still making up 20+% of the citations in ChatGPT.
Hmm. Hmm.
So,
Yep.
what does this mean? Why do we care about this? There are opportunities today, right? If you were to go to Reddit, there are dozens of subreddits in your market, probably depending on the size of your market, even more than dozens, could be hundreds of subreddits. If you were to ask, and just do this, go to Google and ask who's the best real estate agent in X. Scroll down to discussions and forums. I could almost guarantee there's a Reddit thread asking that question with people commenting. Maybe it's your name, maybe it's your competitors. Same with Facebook groups. Now you could
Hmm.
jump in, right? You can. You could be shameless and plug yourself. Um, I will say Reddit has gotten a lot better, Jimmy, at detecting. SEOs wreck everything. So, these SEO experts, they find these loopholes. Like, okay, let's go ahead and just spam my client. Well, now it's hard to get a comment to stick. So if you don't have a warmed
Sure.
up Reddit account, this won't work for you. You can go try. It's probably going to be removed by a moderator. But if you
Sure.
have clients, right? What do you ask your clients for? Reviews. What if you see these threads and you have clients who
Hmm.
use Reddit or you're in these Facebook groups? Could you ask them to recommend you? That does
Yeah.
carry water. That would be my suggestion, Jimmy, versus plugging yourself.
Would you also recommend? So I love that. By the way, the first time I've heard this advice, which is we always ask our clients to rank us on Google and rank us on Zillow. This is the first time I've heard anyone say, like find a good Reddit thread that's being sourced by AI, and then ask your clients to start sort of like when people are like, who's the best realtor in? like have them share their experience working with you. Just make sure they spell your full name correctly and provide like your phone number, right? Like as part of it. But I think it's a really smart idea to do that. Um, and then coming back to this point around YouTube, YouTube has kind of quickly emerged as one of like LLM's most cited
Hmm.
sources. Is it as simple as, because this is like becomes a little bit multifaceted, Tim. There's a YouTube strategy, which is getting more exposure on YouTube, which we're not going to
Hmm.
cover in today's session. There's lots of
Hmm.
content we've done about that in the past. But then there's a session on there's the strategy around creating YouTube content specifically for large language models to detect.
Hmm.
Are
Yeah.
are you saying that the content that we covered on slide number two, which like, hey, here's all the different type of content you should create. Are we
Hmm.
saying like it's a one for one mirror? You should just do that like the written
Yeah.
form, and then you should do that as video as well.
Yeah, you don't have to overthink it. That's what we recommend to our clients. Now, we can't be them on
Okay.
video today. Maybe we get to a place where video avatars are just that good and voice cloning is that good. But that's so what we do, just to talk about our process. We work with a client. The first thing we do is clean up the directories. There's a parallel work stream. We're building what we call a semantic content network. We go do the keyword research. What are buyers and sellers searching today? That becomes our roadmap for the long form written content for the site. Then an agent will ask, okay, I create YouTube videos. What should I create? The answer is the same. Target the same keywords. And we take it, actually, I'm going to give this away. And I think it's on the next slide or the slide after. But I'm going to give you a prompt that you can use to take your long form content. And what it'll do is it'll create an optimized video script, an optimized video title, as well as a description for you to take this off your plate. It's search everywhere optimization. Right? That's the new SEO. You can't just have written content. You have to also focus on video content. You have to also focus on the discussions in forums and user generated content. But I'm going to give that to you. But the answer is yes, Jimmy, is it's the same, right? To target the same keywords. Quick
Hmm.
example. So Nate, he's a client of ours down in Austin. Now he focuses a lot of his business on around probate. A large percentage of his business is probate sales. And you don't need to have 50,000 followers, right? And I think I'm going to dispel maybe that myth that for YouTube to convert, I need to have a ton of video or tons of followers. Maybe you do, but what I'm aiming at here is niche down number one. So he's focusing primarily on probate here, or solely on probate, I should say, on his YouTube channel. He had one video with 8 views that drove in that phone call, right? So it can work, and I'm going to talk about niching in a second. Kind of pulling these last two themes together here, asking who's the best agent in Panama using ChatGPT. That's Zach Seltzer from the earlier example. There's two. So these are citations for anybody. If it's still a nebulous concept, what is a citation? These are 2 citations right here: Central Florida Living, that magazine, and Reddit. And so it's recommending Zach. Why? For these 2 reasons. There's that, I'll call it local press, that we had him mention their number one. And there's a Reddit thread. Somebody posted asking who's the best agent to sell my home in Panama City Beach. And that's us
Hmm.
saying Zach Seltzer, seller listing agent, et cetera, et cetera. So
Yep.
it does get cited, as you can see here. Here's that. I told you I gave you that to you. I'll keep this up for a minute here so you can scan the QR code. But again, this is what it will give you. It'll be a 10-minute video for my co-founder, Ryan, who has a British accent, so he's much more enjoyable to listen to. But he will swoon you with his voice, and he will tell you how to take your blog content, right, feed it into AI. I would recommend either Gemini or Claude. ChatGPT's
Yep.
output's iffy on this task here in particular. And what the output will be a series of optimized titles you can choose from. There'll be several that it'll cook up for you, as well as the description, as well as your script that you can follow, a very conversational script to make it just easier for you to produce video, but not just any video that ranks organically as well as gets cited by the models.
Yep. Okay. So let's recap again, because I want to give everybody just a breath here, Tim, because when you're doing something brand new, it's on the cutting edge. There's a lot of information, and it's important that we sort of continue to reframe so everyone is tracking with before we get into number 5
Mhm.
and beyond. So number 1 is profiles. Number 2 is becoming a content creation machine specifically on the topics that were already covered, which you will get in the slide deck. Number 3 is having a press release or local media strategy where your brand is now being mentioned on some of these major websites and the content you're producing is being mentioned on these websites.
Mhm.
Number 4 is to be strategic about getting people to talk about you on Reddit, on Facebook groups specifically, and being able to create content for YouTube. So those are sort of the first four. Again, these are, if I were to describe it, Tim, as building blocks, these are building blocks as you start to stack them on top of each other, right? Now we're kind of creating a much larger footprint to be found, to be
Hmm.
discovered, and to be ranked in these large language models. Let's get into number five.
Yeah, perfect. Great summary. All right, number five, you understand how AI reads reviews. This is an important one.
Mhm.
Question for you, Jimmy. I'm going to lead the witness a little bit here, but what do you think? Which agent do you think we got? Agent one, agent two, that AI trusts more? The agent that has 150 plus Zillow reviews, solely focused on getting as many reviews so I can be number one on Zillow on page one of Find an Agent, versus agent two, less reviews per channel, but still has Zillow reviews, still has Google reviews, has Fast
Yeah.
Expert reviews. Which one do you think AI trusts more?
Well, here's what's interesting because I've been doing a lot of because I use AI for writing, for obviously
Hmm.
for listing leads and for better email. One thing I've learned recently about AI is AI likes to hedge.
Hmm.
It likes to hedge a lot. So my instincts, I don't know the answer, so I might embarrass myself here, but given the fact that it's AI's natural inclination to hedge, I would imagine that it would go with agent number two. Now, before you answer, let me know in the chat, everyone. Like, do you agree with me? Is it two or is it one? Just drop a two or one in the chat right now. I would imagine they would prefer looking at multiple sources than putting all their eggs in the Zillow basket. And so far, the wisdom of the crowds here, Tim. Everyone's agreeing with me. So,
Everybody's
but
sheepishly following Jimmy's advice.
no, we got a couple defectors.
Couple ones. Yep.
All right. So go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. Well,
What's the answer?
I kind of foreshadowed with one of the first slides with showing that page one of Zillow. Those agents weren't first in AI, even though on page one of Zillow they were. Is that always the
Mm,
case? No. But Jimmy, you're spot on. What it cares about is this, right? So you're asked the question, who's the best real estate agent in wherever? What's happening? There are sub queries happening. So what's AI doing? Okay, chat in this example. Okay, is what do I see on Google Business Profile? What about Zillow? What about Fast Expert? Rate My Agent, Realtor.com, right? Am I forgetting any? Wherever you get reviews, right? Looking at these sources, scanning through. Now it's looking at different factors. Okay, how many platforms is this agent on, or are these agents on? Right? How consistently are they getting reviews? What's the velocity? How recent are the reviews? Did this agent get 100 reviews last year and just kick their feet up at this point? That matters as
hmm
well. The volume of reviews, sheer volume certainly matters. The authority source, right? Think of Google Business Profile versus Yelp, right? GBP
hmm
definitely, especially with Gemini or Google's ecosystem, cares a lot more about Google reviews than say Yelp. Now the
hmm
results, that's where you're going to see the names. So this is a call to action to say, actually, I'll give you a quick story, then I'll give you the call to action. Talked to an agent a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't think they were really qualified. I looked at Zillow. I can only see what I can see, just like AI. I
hmm
can only see what's publicly available. Well, on Zillow, he had one review and a handful of transactions. Looked like a new agent. Turns out he has 6,000 transactions across his career. He owned three different offices. In his Google business profile, he focused, he put all his eggs in the GBP basket. I'm sure there are agents on this call who have done that, whether it's Zillow or
hmm
Google. They've kind of gone all in, want to corner the market on the Google business, or I'm sorry, the map pack, or corner the market on page one of Zillow. Those strategies worked at a different time. We're not, unfortunately, in
hmm
that time. We're in the era of diversification. You need to have your reviews on Zillow, on Google Business Profile, and Yelp, and others. Now, this is here's the call to action here. GBP, I still say it's a little bit more. And also, I should throw out this disclaimer, Jimmy. It also matters what model you're going after. Zillow
hmm
probably influences chat more, whereas Google Business Profile is influencing Gemini more. But if I could just
hmm
paint with broad brushstrokes, these would be the ones I'm focused on: GBP, Zillow, Yelp, Realtor.com. There's Rate My Agent and Fast Expert. I mentioned, I said we're going to talk a little bit more about that. If you haven't claimed your profiles on Fast Expert, Rate My Agent, number one, do that. But number two, don't think you have to go now start from zero. Both of those directories sync with your Zillow profile. So when you get a Zillow review, it will automatically appear on Fast Expert and Rate My Agent. Right. So
hmm
it's just, you don't have to bombard your clients to ask for all these reviews. I generally say I wait Zillow let's say you were going to ask for 10 reviews. Again, broad
hmm
brushstrokes, it's going to change market to market, agent to agent, depending on the competitive landscape. But broadly speaking, If you're asking for 10 reviews, I would ask for 6 on Zillow solely because it's syncing. You're getting 3 for 1. It's syncing to those other 2 directories. 30% of my efforts on Google Business Profile. And I like to say 10% on Yelp, especially if you're an agent using that example from before. All right, I don't have that many Zillow reviews and I'm competing with agents who have 1,000. I'm never going to catch them. Well, Yelp can sometimes create a backdoor. Most agents aren't focused on Yelp reviews, right? That's where people go to leave terrible reviews. So they don't focus
Sure.
there. But if you're doing the search in your market, I recommend everybody do ask who's the best agent in your market. Look at the citations. What is being cited the most? If you're seeing Yelp, that might be a lever that you can pull to, maybe the average on Yelp, the agents in your market might have 10 reviews on Yelp, 20 reviews, much more attainable than trying to catch up to an agent with 1,000 reviews.
Yeah, I'm tracking. Okay, so number five on the list here. So I'm just keeping track here. Is the short answer is taking a screenshot of this page is making sure you're diversifying your reviews. Now, Tim, we got 15 minutes left. We're at number five. We got
Mm-hmm.
effectively 6, 7, 8, and 9 left. So I want to make sure we get to all the material. And I'll recap after number six because again, I'm a recap guy. I'm like acting as AI right now, which is I am going to be your AI note taker and just summarize kind of my key learnings here. All right, let's get into number six.
You're like, this is great. Number 5 is great, Tim. Just pat me on the
Yeah.
back. All right. So niching down. This is a bit of a contrarian approach as well. I think a lot of us, we want to cast as wide a net as possible. Give us as many at bats as possible. And what this
Yep.
is illustrating is what niche down. I'm recommending if you're in San Diego, it's a competitive market. It's a metro market. It's better. And this is what we recommend when the agents we partner with. We kind of explain to them why, hey, let's focus on La Jolla. Maybe your office is in La Jolla, you transact there a lot. Less search volume in La Jolla than, say, San Diego proper, but it's easier for us to get an agent to rank. It'd be easier for you to get yourself to rank if you focus on this. I know the downside is, well, less people are asking in La Jolla. And this is where we're going to get into what's called long tail versus a broad keyword strategy. So on the
Mm-hmm.
left-hand side, high competition, low intent. Okay, high competition being going after who's the best realtor in my market, as an example. Lower competition, but very high intent would be probate sales, like the Nate Clark example. Golf communities, over 55 communities. Best real estate agent for luxury condos in X, new construction. My recommendation here, team, is to go after these long tail keywords because it is super high intent.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah. And
go ahead.
And just to be clear on the concept of like go after, you mean what you're saying is create hyper local content. So if I were to summarize,
Mhm.
Tim, take your area and break your area into logical buckets based on like neighborhoods or specific areas, and then create hyper local content that has low competition but high intent for that particular area. So you're stacking those things together.
Yeah, I think of it as semantic triples: who you are, what you do, and where you do it. Tim Harvey is the best probate real estate agent in Boston, Massachusetts. That theme should carry through everything: your website content, your machine-friendly bio, the PRs that you're doing. Now, that might not be the only thing you're doing, but it's not a one-time blog you write, right? It is a theme that would be carried throughout your entire SEO strategy.
Love it. Cool.
All right, number 7, we're moving things along here. You care about how your content is structured. So we talked about the content to create. The structure certainly matters. So the search engines, AI, right, is turning one conversation into several conversations. So the initial query, somebody's asking where are the best neighborhoods in Hartford, Connecticut. What you're not seeing happening instantaneously are these sub queries. So what's it doing? It's asking itself questions. What are the safest neighborhoods? What's the average home price? What are the best walkable neighborhoods? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then you come to this, the answer. Go back here. These are the best neighborhoods, and you'll see the citations. Why it's snippeting the information from websites that it trusts
Yeah.
or they trust. This is the structure to follow for your website content, right? Fresh publication date. How new is this page or this blog? You should have a TLDR, quick answer summarizing the page, roughly 75 words. Bulleted stats or data points in that section. Then your paragraphs called H2s or H3s, right? Heading 2, heading 3. They should be about 200 words each, and there's a reason for that. There's a budget, a token budget. If you have a blog, and this is pretty common, SE agent, AI has lowered the bar. You could produce so much content, and it could be 5,000 word blog. The budget, though, the token budget is about, 300 words, I want to say it is, meaning it's only looking at about 300 words and maybe it snippets it, maybe it doesn't. So you don't need, we're saying here 1,500 to 1,700 words. It's only going to snip it. It's only going to read certain sections of it. And if it trusts the information, it finds it helpful, useful, original, that content can be snippeted into the answer and it's citing you as the source of that information. Does that make sense, Jimmy?
Yeah. So when I look at the structure, what you're saying is don't just go to AI and have AI create a 2,000 word article about, let's say, the best neighborhoods to live in Southern New Hampshire. What
Mm-hmm.
you're saying is, no, there's a specific structure that you want to have in place. And that specific structure is designed to make your content easier for AI to scrape, analyze, and then feed into its recommendation when people are asking questions.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I'm tracking.
Okay. All right. Number 8, your website has complete AI coverage. This will probably ring true for most of you on the call here. This is on the left, what I want your websites, how I want them to be organized. Having detailed services pages. I think if you have a real estate website provider who's doing this for you, they created your website, you probably have templated services pages. And the services are
Hmm.
probably buyer experience, seller experience. When I say detailed services page, I'm going to go back to that long tail. Do you focus on probate or over 55 communities, right? What services do you offer? And having a detailed page explaining the service in which you offer. Featured in the
Hmm.
press. A lot of you have already been featured in the press. Does it live on a /press page on your website? Kind of curating all
Mm.
that in one location. You should. And as you're adding more, if you're going out and finding these press opportunities, once you get featured, pull that into the press page. Make it easy for AI to recommend you. At the end of the day, that's all we're talking about here, Jimmy, is giving AI enough information to come to the logical conclusion that you are the best in your market.
Hmm.
FAQs, buyer FAQs, seller FAQs, your own brand FAQs. What are buyers and sellers
Yeah.
asking you? That should live in an FAQs page. And like I mentioned in this slide here, like each blog that we create has an FAQ section on a dedicated
Yeah.
blog. You probably have your agent's page. You probably can just check that off the list. Area market pages. Do you just have one community page, one area page, or do you go in depth? If you're San Diego, do you have a La Jolla page and Pacific Beach, Ocean Beach, Mission Beach? Team credentials. This is one I think it's a huge missed opportunity. If I go to your homepage, and I've analyzed over 30,000 websites, maybe 5%, 10% have this, but can I see, can I gauge the caliber of agent you are or team that you
Hmm.
are? Do I see career, sales? Do I see number of aggregated reviews across the internet? That should
Yeah.
be living on your homepage and other places, but specifically your homepage.
Let me just stop here on this page because someone asked a question. My website company told me they don't allow ChatGPT to crawl on the site. Maria posted that. That's insanity, Maria. I mean,
Yeah.
like this is if this is probably the question to ask your website company. I don't care.
Hmm.
Like I know all of them. I like all of them. They're good companies, good people. But you have got to get them to unlock ChatGPT or allow basically these LMs to crawl your website. It is insanity if you don't. And I'm sure there's a very good logical reason around MLS data. Well, guess what? Zillow just gave them all the data, right? So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Zillow already gave it to please, please, please talk to your people, get with other customers, get a petition signed. Don't switch your website yet. Just ask them to do it because
Yeah.
I just think this is they should be pressured into doing this. I don't care what the reason is. It's not a good enough reason. So just as an advocate for agents wanting to
Yeah.
win here, like get with your company, say let's get them to like up to it.
Yeah.
There's no good reason not to do it, Tim.
No,
So
it's
this
probably an engineer in a dark room somewhere thought that would be a good idea, not seeing where the world was going.
I listen. I get it. We built websites for 12 years. I understand the complications around this stuff, but I don't care. It's just not a good enough reason. On the left hand side, so number 8 here, Tim, is what you're saying is like optimize your website for AI. Don't
Hmm.
just have home, about, search. Have detailed service pages, feature in the press pages, FAQ, our agents, area market pages, team credentials. Make sure you cover all of that. Yeah, I'm gonna have to text Multi about luxury presence about why they don't let them do that because that's just crazy to me. All right, so
Yeah.
on that note, let's talk about keep going here, Tim, because
Yeah.
we're still on number 8.
Yeah, so this is I can drop this and we send out a recap with the recording and the deck. I'll include the White Spark report, but this is really interesting stuff. So White Spark puts out a report every single year, And what they're doing is they're asking the top 50 SEO experts across the globe. And there's different sections. There's traditional SEO search. There's local search. Google Map Pack. And this is the first year they had a section on AI search visibility factors because it didn't exist the year before. And so and there's about 200 ranking factors. There is a lot of ranking factors. These are just the top 9. And the 3 I'm highlighting: dedicated service page for each service. You have geographic keywords in your content, and then the degree focus on a specific niche, if you have a niche or specialty. So 3
Yep.
of the top 9 are related to your website. But I should also
Hmm.
highlight the other ones, Jimmy. Number 1 ranking factor, according to the 50 smartest people in the world with respect to search engine optimization or AI search, number 1 is your presence on expert curated lists, like best of lists, listicles. I've already mentioned that, like a PR can be a listicle for you. That's the number 1 ranking factor. Number 3, prominence on key industry domains like Zillow, like that. You see that there's a theme throughout this. It's all connected. Number 4, quality and authority of unstructured citations. That just simply
Yeah.
means your name, your address, your phone number being mentioned in blog posts, government sites, articles, right? So quality comes over quantity, which is number 7. You can't just go to Fiverr and buy backlinks. I had an agent tell me that last week. He's spamming the crap out of his domain. You have to focus on quality citations, third-party mentions, meaning you find a site with authority that's mentioning you, linking back to you.
Yep.
And reviews
Yep.
are number 8 out of 9. Okay.
Got it. So let me just stop. Let me stop real quick, Tip, before we get to number 9, because we're gonna go a little bit into overtime. Let me just recap again. So we're just tracking. So because again, I know the AI is going to do this. I know it's going to give you the notes. None of us look at those notes. Let me just give you the recap. I want to instill this in your brain. Number 1 is profiles. Number 2, so getting your profiles dialed in. Number 2 is having a content strategy designed, right? Designed to start like become. I would describe that as becoming a content creation machine.
Mm-hmm.
Number three on the list is start to get more exposure through paid press releases or local partnerships. Number 4 on the list is start to leverage Reddit, Facebook, and YouTube, getting your customers to comment on threads, post their authentic reviews, and then creating YouTube content specifically not for the algorithm for YouTube, but for the LLMs. Number 5 on the list is focusing on expanding and diversifying your reviews. Number 6 on the list is niching down your market. Don't go after San Diego, go after the 10 different submarkets, and then within those submarkets, go for the high intent list. Number 7 on the list is getting the structure of your content dialed in. So not creating AI slop with 2,000 words of just nonsense, but rather have a specific structure. Okay, now before we get into number 8 is having complete coverage on your website, which is making sure you have all the right pages, not just home, about, and search. And please, please make sure your website company allows LLMs to crawl
Yes.
your website. Tim, before we get to number 9, I know that like about 50% of people on the call today are going to be like, hey, listen, I've got it. I can start putting this in place. And the other 50% are going to say, okay, Tim, take my money. So if you could just brief before we get to number 9, because I want to cover number
Mm-hmm.
9 as well, jump over to your different packages and just so you can have this pulled up. Because if you guys want to sit down with Tim and the team and just have a discussion, go through your account, go through a plan. I know FlyDragon, they have different packages for different types of teams and agents. But if you want to get set up for a demo, just drop your email in the chat right now. If you're like, hey, Tim, I love all this, please do it for me. This is actually the time to drop your email in the chat right now so we can get that dialed in. And Tim, I know they can go to the website, but I'm going to have
Yep.
you guys just reach out to them directly, make it easy for
Yeah.
them. These are my customers here. So just like go here and just drop your email. Now, Tim, you guys do have 3 different packages. So I want to be really transparent about this. You have 3 different
Mm-hmm.
packages available for people. And just briefly, if you could, before I get to number 9, just touch on the 3 different packages because everything we covered, I know you guys do for people, but just
Yeah.
cover the difference between the sort of the basic, the middle tier, and then the pro tier.
Yeah, so it starts at $7.99 per month. We're exclusive by market, so we only partner with one agent per market, so we don't have competing priorities. The only difference between these 3 tiers is how much weight we're putting behind the off-page initiatives. So if you move from tier 1 to tier 2 into tier 3, we are acquiring those press releases and those third-party mentions from the best sources possible, just to pour gasoline on the fire. Additionally, the on-site content, that semantic content network I referenced, they're
Yeah.
just beefier. We're just going after more keywords in tier two and even more inside of tier three. We base it up usually off of population size. This is why I talk with everyone myself, maybe 95% of these calls. I've got to get an understanding of where I think you fit based on not just the population size, but where you stack rank against the competitors today, where I think we can help you in AI visibility. So it's not always cut and dry. Okay, I'm in Upton, I'm a tier one, or versus a Boston that's a tier two, or Dallas Fort Worth with being a tier three. And the other thing I'll mention, Jimmy, is you can add additional markets. It's very common. We have an agent by month three seeing the wins, the aha moments have happened. Okay, I've gotten Upton. Now, Tim, I want Westboro. So we charge half off the second and subsequent markets. So you can add in additional markets for $3.99 per month.
Got it. Okay. And we have like 100 people who dropped their email in the chat. Again, as a reminder, if you want Tim and his team to reach out to schedule a call with you, they'll do a consultative call with you, just basically identify whether or not A, it's a good fit, and then B, set expectations. Like I said earlier, I have no dog in this fight. I don't own this company as much as I would like to actually for Tim to finally give me some shares in this business. But I just have seen the wins. I've seen the results these guys are getting, and I am just a huge believer in this category. So if you want to get more information from the team at FlyDragon, I asked him to give away all the secret sauce. He's already given you 8 things that they do that are working for their clients. Let's get into number 9, Tim, because I want to make sure we cover that as well, which
Yeah.
is the last thing that we want to focus on to help us rank in AI.
Yeah, here's the recurring theme again, the motif, long tail, focusing on long tail content versus broad keyword strategies. So if you ask ChatGPT, or I should say what consumers are asking would be something to this effect. What are the best neighborhoods in Madison? Top neighborhoods X, there's a citation. Ideally, it's your website answering that question. Homes near the town average, about 587, again, citing your website. Now, what we've found, I say we, it's actually Ahrefs and SEMrush. They analyzed 18,000 different searches and found that almost all of these citations are skipping page 1 of Google, right?
Mm-hmm.
The blue clicks, right? The organic clicks are down 50% in the last 6 months. Fact check me. I think it's 50% in the last 6 months. So when we get this question a lot, it's why it's in here. Hey, I want to be on page 1 of Google. Does some of our content land on page 1? Sure. We look at that, organic traffic as a proxy metric. That is not the North Star metric. That is traditional search engine optimization. AI SEO, the North Star metric is getting agents in the answers. So knowing that AI citations are skipping page 1 60 to 90% of the time, why is that? It's because the long form content, right, or content that's targeting long tail keywords doesn't live on page 1. If I go to Google and type in best neighborhoods in Madison, page 1, all those results are pretty much going to be the same type of page. You're going to see Zillow, or you're going to see Realtor.com. We're living somewhere else intentionally. And so this is what you're going to see on ChatGPT. On average, there are 15 to 25 words in a question. Compare that to Google searches, 3 to 4 words. When we go to Google, we're just typing in a couple of words. When we go to chat, when your customers, your buyers and sellers go to chat or Gemini or Grok, they're having a long form conversation. And so we want to live in the long tail. We want our content to be, long tail specific.
Got it. Go ahead. Keep going, Tim.
Yeah. And so this is basically and these are all legitimate summaries, I should say, not verbatim, but what our clients told us. Hey, I just got this buyer seller. The first thing I do is I ask, tell me what model they use. Do you know what they even asked? Sometimes they send me paragraphs. The seller will actually send, here's exactly what I asked. It's helpful data for us internally, but give you an idea of how your buyers and sellers are interacting with AI today. I'm relocating to Gatlinburg and I need a home on the lake between X and Y with boat access. When's the best time to buy? A lot different than going to Google. This is like, hey, 2018 called, they want their strategy back, asking, homes for sale in X, click a link, boom, hit the form, like the paywall. I got to put in my information just to look at homes. That is not the future. That is not where search is going.
Yeah. Okay. And go to the next slide for me, because I know there's some information on what you got to test as well.
Yes, this is the last slide here. This is also what we've tested, what we've learned that didn't work. And so this is important because there's a lot of information out there. Some of it's good. A lot of it's not untested. Again, we've done this now over 100 times for different agents in different markets. We know what works. We know what doesn't. So avoid these things. And I'll just kind of go through them quickly. So thousands of articles with no human edits is a great way to nuke your domain. Be terminally ill. And once it's nuked, it's not coming back. I've seen agents in Facebook groups talk about this. I'm creating hundreds of pages every single week. Maybe there's a spike in traffic, but I can almost guarantee after the 90-day mark, traffic's off a cliff and it isn't coming back. You've nuked your domain. So do not do that. What we do at
Mhm.
Curator, we write with AI, but we still fundamentally believe you need human in the loop. There's a human touching every piece of content to further optimize it, to handle internal linking, to make sure AI didn't hallucinate. You cannot, you should not blindly take the output from AI and publish that to your website.
Mhm.
Schema. So, can you stop me with that question, Jimmy?
No, just on that topic, because I think this is probably one of the
Yeah.
biggest things I've seen happen right now, which is the idea that like a fully end-to-end automated marketing plan using Claude Cowork, using OpenClaw, using insert, NAN. What it does, what I have seen it do, and I'm just being real. Like what I've seen it do is it produces like low quality output, and you cannot actually vet it at all. And
Mhm.
because you can't vet it, like it's almost like a signal to large language models that you're trying to game the system if you're producing so much content. So there's like
Mhm.
so there's like leveraging AI, but like there's an expression, Tim, called the human in the loop, which is like having a human basically at least review it for the purposes of
Mhm.
saying this is good, this is not good. I mean, like that still
Yeah.
matters in this context.
Totally. Maybe we'll get to a point in the future, but today, not a single piece of content goes up on our clients' websites without at least one
Yeah.
of our humans reviewing it, adding the internal links, right? Optimizing it as they see fit based on the pages that are performing well for the same keyword, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Okay, schema markup. I get this question all the time of late. I think there's a lot of buzz around like what schema is. Do you add it? Does my website provider add it? Think of schema markup as just a language that the machines can understand. Right? There's a bunch of different types of schema markup out there, but it's also not worth the hype. It's White Spark on that report that I'll share with everybody. It's rank factor 44 out of 200, top
Mm.
third, but still, it's a nice to have. I'll say that. Do we add schema for clients? Yes, we do. If the platform allows it. Some do not allow it, but it is not in the top 9, as you noticed. So not
Yeah.
necessarily worth the hype, but if you can add it, add it. All right, number 3, high volume, low authority backlinks. This is another way to nuke your domain. I had that agent told me he's going to Fiverr buying really cheap backlinks. That is a recipe for failure. You will nuke your domain. Focus on high quality backlinks, ideally that you earn through relationships,
Yeah.
right? Or paying to play Yahoo Finance is not a spam link. Look for links that have high authority but also traffic. If it has high authority and no traffic, zero traffic, that's a spam link. SEO's juiced up these domains, and if you have hundreds of these links pointing to your domain, you're going to nuke your domain.
Yep.
All right, tactics on ChatGPT don't necessarily translate to these other models. Kind of already mentioned that. Just because you're doing everything I mentioned doesn't mean that okay, I've shored up Chat and Gemini and Grok and Perplexity. There are nuances to each of these different AI chats. LLM LLM's TXT is another one that's getting a lot of buzz. Google does not recognize it's similar to robots.txt. Main difference is
Mhm.
Google has said we will, this is the de facto standard, robots.txt. LLMs.txt was a private venture. Somebody said, okay, we're going to create this file. It's going to make it easier for this website to be accessed and understand what's on the website. But there are, I got it right here. I've got it in front of me. But there's an independent audit of 1,000 domains found zero visits from LLM specific bots to the LLMs.txt. So it doesn't
Mhm.
matter today. We keep monitoring it. Maybe it matters in the future, but don't fall in love with these shortcuts. There is no shortcut here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
lastly, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, just I think this for some of us are probably hearing about LLMs.txt for the very first time. So it's good to know that like we actually don't have to worry about it at this stage. But but what I'm hearing you say is just to be just as a community to be conscious of the fact that there's so much hype around fast
Mhm.
results, do this one thing and immediately get on page one of or the results or in this, I don't know, page one, get the first, be
Yeah.
the first response, right, of AI. And what I'm hearing you say over and over again is like those little hacks, if they have any impact, it's pretty low, right?
Yeah.
But in
We can't
some
even
in
measure
some
schema, Jimmy. We add schema. We can't measure. There's no market improvement for any client that we've added schema for. We do it as a nice to have, but it's not something. There's no shortcut here.
Yeah, and I think the other part is that some of these tactics actually can have a significantly adverse impact on your ability to rank. Anita, it's when I say LLM, I'm saying large language models. So I'm just encompassing Chat, Anthropic, Grok, right? Gemini, all into one bucket there. Okay, so Tim,
Yeah.
um, we had a bunch of questions. We're going to try to answer as many as we can that came in through. I'm going to throw them at you here in a second. Someone asked earlier, you guys are exclusive by market. I know you guys do that intentionally because
Hmm.
when you're doing all of these things, you can't do it for 25 different agents in Auburn, New Hampshire. So you guys you guys are completely exclusive by market. As a reminder, if you guys want to jump on a call with Tim and his team to go over their services, if you want to say, hey, listen, I love all these ideas, just do them for me. Just drop your email again in the chat. We had about 150 people who dropped their email in chat, but I just want to give a reminder. If you want Tim and his team to have a conversation with you about this for your business, drop your email in the chat. Now, if you want, yeah, your email, Sandy. Hey, Sandy, good to see you on the call. Your full email. And if you think Tim should give me friends and family shares, put a W in the chat for me as well. That'd be great.
Maybe we
All
could
right, so
trade. We
Tim.
get some of that listing leads magic.
No, not yet. All right. Look at this. I got Ryan. Ryan, whatever you need, just send me. Thank you, Javier. Yeah, like I got you guys. You guys want me to hook you up? Thank you, Mary. All right. So, Tim, everyone's gonna get the recordings. Everyone's gonna get the slides. Let me just kind of shift a little bit towards um, where would you start? So we covered a lot of material. We have a lot of people who want to hire you guys, which is great.
Mm.
More power to you guys. You guys are one of the fastest growing companies in real estate right now, doing some super interesting things in the space, helping a lot of clients, get results. Um, if you leave this call today and say, listen, I don't have the budget right now, Tim, maybe in 3 months I'm gonna have the budget. When you look at the list of 9, are you saying, you know what, just do 1, 2, 3 just to get going? Like how would you attack this in
Yeah.
chunks versus doing everything all at once?
Well, we actually didn't cover that last on that don't do list, but it basically said you can't just cherry pick from this list of 9. You have to do it all, but you do have to start somewhere. But I
Sure.
would follow the order of the deck because that is an order of importance. The first thing I would do, and you can do this in an hour or less, is go audit all of those directories that I mentioned. Are you there? Did you claim it? Is your information accurate? I've never seen, I've done this for over 100 agents so far, where the agent was all dialed in. There was something, usually several things that were out of whack. So I would start there and I would just chip away at that list until you get through number 9.
Yeah, got it. And so I think that's probably the big one that all of us should do, just even for the purposes of SEO as well as
Hmm.
GEO, right? Is getting us in a position where we are making sure our profiles are dialed in. I mean, this is really, really important. Could you actually, Tim, can you do us a favor? Could you
Yeah.
pull up the directors again? I think it was one of the earlier slides.
Yeah.
Because we could reference the directories. They are in the slide deck, but just for context, that'd be great to have those pulled up for us. Um, There we go. Thank you. So these
Hmm.
are these are the major ones that are being. And by the way, this is not all of the directories. These are just the
Yeah.
directories
Far
that are
from it.
being cited
Yeah. The
cited
most.
from the
Yeah.
most. Got it. Got it.
Yeah, what you're
Thank you,
not going to
Mary
see
Hampton.
here would be Fast Expert. So I'm foot stomping Fast Expert. Rate My Agent. Homes is on there. Experience.com is another. Obviously, Google, Yelp, Realtor.com, Zillow. Those
Yeah,
would be the ones I'd be
love it.
looking at.
Okay, cool. For YouTube content, I had a chance to interview my guy Ken Pozak,
Hmm.
and Ken and I were talking about like just his whole production system around creating content. And so I'll take this one here because my broker was asking, how often do you need to be posting, and how long should they be to come up in search? In my experience, if you want to get like, there's so many ancillary benefits to posting on YouTube beyond just ranking in AI. So I'll give you the general advice on this, getting into a weekly cadence. So when we built this podcast called The Water Cooler, me and my partner Chris Smith, and it was the like most popular um like podcast in real estate. We would drink beers at 9 o'clock at night. We were in our 20s at the time doing this thing, right? So
Now
we
it's
would like
chocolate
drink.
milk.
Now it's chocolate milk and Peppa Pig. But we would do the show, and what we found is like every single week the predictability created the best results. If we missed 2 weeks, our attendance would drop down quite a lot. And so we had to be wildly consistent. So my advice is yeah, 2 or 3 times a week is ideal, but getting consistent with once a week. Thank you, Rick, for the love. If we got some OGs who've watched the water cooler program, thank you, Susan. Yeah, we will. I'm as a quick aside. I'm opening up a new office here in the north end of Boston. It's going to be my kind of production studio. I'll be producing a lot more content out of that production studio. So I will be bringing back some good old fashioned podcasts for you guys. All right,
Oh yeah.
Tim, we are over, my friend. Everyone is going to get the recording. Everyone is
Hmm.
going to get the slides. Okay. If you haven't already dropped your email in the chat, if you want to get more information from Tim and his team, drop your email. The more emails, the more likely they can get those friend and family shares, as we talked about earlier. But I appreciate you guys coming on with us. Tim, this was insanely useful.
Yeah.
I know everyone's going to walk away with something they can apply. There is going to be a huge land grab right now for ranking in AI. It is going to be bigger than search than it was even 2 years ago. I think you're going to see this incredible opportunity. I would just I would advise agents that I know you have a lot going on. I know that there's a million different things. This is an opportunity to get high quality leads, which is why I fully endorse the strategy. I hope you guys take full advantage of it. And Tim, as always, appreciate you coming on this call with us. We'll
Yeah.
check
Thank
back in
you.
with you in 6 months, my man, to see how the world has changed. But for
Yeah.
now, this was super useful, dude.
Yeah. Appreciate your time and everybody's time. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye
Have a
now.
great week.